In addition to Diddy's legal team's efforts to suppress any evidence that comes forward, federal prosecutors have invited forensic psychologist Dr. Don Hughes to testify in Diddy's upcoming lawsuit. This indicates that Diddy is terrified, and that his lawyers will stop at nothing to get rid of any incriminating material. Furthermore, Cassie's viral video may be the final straw that puts Diddy in jail. Let's take a look at it.
A little bit more about what we know of Dr. Don Hughes. So it's in an exhibit that was filed in this case. It's called Disclosure as to Expert Witness Don M. Hughes, PhD, ABPP. Dr. Hughes is a clinical psychologist and a board-certified forensic psychologist and a leading expert on sexual abuse, interpersonal violence, victimization, and traumatic stress. The following includes the anticipated opinions the government expects Dr. Hughes will offer regarding sexual abuse and victim responses to sexual abuse, coercive control, coping strategies during and in relation to sexual abuse, delayed disclosure, and memory of sexual abuse. Quote, the government expects that Dr. Hughes will testify about coercive control as a tactic of victimization, i.e., the state to process of becoming a victim, and a strategy to gain dominance across a spectrum of relationships. Coercive control often includes a variety of physical, sexual, and/or emotional tactics that together function to control.
Testimony is crucial to the case because she will demonstrate that Diddy's victims' actions are consistent with what victims usually do. Although Diddy's lawyers are attempting to claim that this proves Diddy is innocent, Dr. Don Hughes and other forensic psychologists have stated that this behavior is consistent with abuse.
To say that this proves that Diddy is innocent. Dr. Don Hughes and other forensic psychologists, however, have said that this behavior is consistent with abuse victims.
Right? To have these alleged victims testify and then have Dr. Hughes potentially explain certain behaviors or actions as evidence of abuse. And that's important because you may have alleged victims who claim they were sex trafficked or victimized by Shawn Combs, but decided to stay in a relationship with him or stay in contact with him or acquiesce to his demands or forget certain details or not report it immediately or whatnot. Now, we don't know for sure, but I think that's a fair estimation. And Dr. Hughes could testify for the prosecution and suggest that all of this is consistent with what has been seen in other abuse survivor stories. And it doesn't mean that these women aren't telling the truth about what happened. Now, the defense doesn't want her to testify, and that is quite clear in their motion in limine to preclude testimony of Dr. Don Hughes. So motion in limine is a pretrial motion to prevent certain evidence from coming into trial, being seen or heard by the jury, or limiting it in some way. So I want to dive into this. It starts off by reading, quote, the prosecution seeks to call Dr. Don Hughes as an expert witness to offer opinions about typical behaviors among perpetrators and victims of abuse and sexual violence. Hughes has not reviewed or evaluated any of the evidence in this case. While purporting to offer only background information, her opinions are skewed to advance the government's themes, and her testimony will mirror that of the government's fact witnesses. Her testimony's only real purpose is to support an inference that because the accusers in this case behaved in typical ways, they must be telling the truth. Hughes' testimony should not be admitted.
All be attacked on cross-examination. Their character will be impugned. They will attack the victims for not coming forward until Cassie Ventura came forward. How do you fix that? You find an outcry witness. What is an outcry witness? An outcry witness is someone the victim told about their at the time. So 10 years ago, I told you Shawn Combs raped me at this party. I told you that then, but I never made a police report. That adds credence, credibility to the victim's statement. So a lot of victims are going to be attacked because they continued in a seemingly friendly relationship with Combs. A lot of women do that. Your boss makes advances on you unwanted. What do? Quit and starve? There's a lot of reasons women maintain a relationship with the rapist. So we may lose credibility on a couple of witnesses, but the sheer number of them, I find it hard to believe that a jury will choose to disbelieve all of these ladies and choose to believe Shawn.
Against Shawn Diddy. Combs is mounting and his attorneys are having difficulty. A new motion to remove the video of Diddy assaulting Cassie, which was first released by CNN, shows Diddy viciously beating Cassandra Ventura before dragging her by the hair. Diddy's attorneys have attempted several times to have the video removed. From the evidence, but now claim that it has been altered to make Diddy appear worse.
That video or videos excluded from trial. And for that, we turn to his motion in limine to exclude video footage of that March 5th, 2016 incident. Motion in limine is a pretrial motion that aims at preventing evidence from coming into trial or limiting it in some way. And it starts by saying, quote, "There is no longer any dispute that the CNN footage from March 5th, 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel offered by the government at 3 separate bail hearings is wholly inaccurate, having been altered, manipulated, sped up, and edited to be out of sequence. As indicated below, CNN paid Redacted, don't know who this person is, Redacted, for footage, copied that footage in unknown ways, presented that footage out of order, and destroyed the original. Accordingly, all the footage from CNN is inaccurate and inadmissible. As for the 2 items of footage filmed by an iPhone 6, those pieces of footage are inaccurate and admissible as well for the reasons."
Remember that Diddy has already expressed regret for his behavior in public and admitted that the video is authentic. He did so for the same video that he professed to be horrified by, but he is now claiming that it is a
difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was f***ed up. I hit rock bottom. I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. Disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, going to rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Let's talk about the showdown in the courtroom over the Bombshell video allegedly showing Shawn Diddy Combs beating his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura.
Now, Diddy's lawyers are arguing to exclude the footage from the rapper's upcoming sex trafficking trial. Legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joins us now with more on what this could mean for the high-profile case. So good to have you. Okay, so they want this video left out. What's their argument for this?
So Mark Agnifilo, Shawn Combs' attorney, is arguing that you probably hear this phrase, this is not a true and accurate representation of what the video depicts. He's saying a number of arguments that the CNN had taken this video and sped it up, they kind of chopped it up into this montage, and it's not accurate. He's also making the allegation that the original video no longer exists, and so because this isn't accurate, the jury shouldn't see it, and according to Diddy's attorneys, because the original doesn't exist or it's been tampered with, no video such as this should be presented to the jury.
So what is CNN saying about these claims?
So CNN has come out and said, we did not alter it. We did not change anything. And in fact, they're saying that they do have the original as well. So on multiple levels, Shawn Combs' argument kind of falls flat because if it is sped up, and I think there is some degree of it's being sped up, if the original still exists, that can still be used as evidence against Shawn Combs, not necessarily to the allegations of trafficking, RICO conspiracy, or the transportational purpose of prostitution, but to show that this is a force that it was used to keep victim number 1, who we believe to be Cassie in this video, under his control for the purpose of trafficking and this RICO.
Diddy's attorneys are aware that the moment this footage is shown in court, Diddy will be suddenly found guilty. Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's attorney, claims that this video is wholly unrelated to the case and that it only depicts a man discovering his spouse cheating on him. It has nothing to do with the accusations of sex.
Hold a hearing, and at this hearing, Combs explains that his team wants to call a forensic video analysis named Connor McCord to show that this video evidence is inaccurate. Shawn Combs' defense team argues the videos are unreliable, that they would unfairly confuse and mislead the jury, that they would be more prejudicial to Combs than it would provide any kind of relevant or probative value for the prosecution's case. They write, quote, "If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth a number well over the court's word limit." Again, the basic argument from Combs and his team is that CNN heavily and deceptively edited the video and turned about 10.5 minutes of footage into a 48-second, quote, out-of-order clip that ended with Combs appearing to drag Redacted, that's be Cassandra Ventura, to a hotel room. And they argue that this painted the rapper and the music mogul in the worst possible light for the world to see. And as they previously incorrectly mentioned, prosecutors relied on this tape in prior bail hearings to support their argument that Combs shouldn't be released pre-trial. But
when I looked at that thing, to be honest, I thought that the people who was watching it, because you know at those hotels, they have security personnel that watch that stuff. And if they didn't call the police, they should be in jail. I don't care what nobody say. You know, whoever watched that tape and didn't submit that to the authorities, they should be brought up on charges.
Why do you think the video is barely coming out right now? Because you got a lot of people, you know, that's wondering why it took so long.
First of all, they know that Puff probably paid the security personnel, like, because he knew it was on camera. When he made it to the hallway, when she made it to that phone, once that phone picked up, that's going straight to security. That's for emergency purposes only. So either the concierge or somebody that's handling emergency type situations when she picked up that phone. So now, Puff probably had somebody pay them off. 9 times out of 10, he had somebody pay them.
Diddy's attorneys have also filed motions to have the evidence gathered during the raids on his mansions thrown out. They argue that the search warrants used for the raid were illegally obtained and that all of the freak-off tapes and baby oil found in his mansions should be.
Shawn Diddy Combs, looking to suppress evidence in his federal trial. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is back with the story. Good morning again, Aaron.
And to you, Michael, you'll remember federal agents from Homeland Security Investigations were hardly shy when they raided Shawn Combs' opulent homes in Los Angeles and Miami, guns drawn. Jailed music mogul now argues those searches and other searches of his iCloud accounts, electronic devices, and New York City hotel room following his arrest were unconstitutional. His lawyers argue evidence obtained through those searches must be suppressed. Diddy's lawyers say the government presented a grossly distorted picture of reality when applying for the search warrants, omitting certain facts and including salacious details from an unnamed producer that were never credible. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracy, trafficking, and prostitution charges. The defense is also arguing here his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, was a willing participant in drug-fueled sex performances called freak-offs, not coerced as prosecutors allege. This latest challenge to his case comes 3 months before trial, and as Combs loses one of his attorneys, Anthony Rico says under no circumstances can he continue to represent Combs. He offered no details about that decision, Robin.
Okay.
If fabricating evidence wasn't enough, Diddy's attorneys are also attempting to frame his case as a racial one. According to court records, Diddy's attorneys assert that the only reason prosecutors are pursuing Diddy is because he is a prosperous black guy. Unfortunately, it's not really a good defense for Diddy to blame the prosecutors.
Asked the judge in his federal case to throw out one of the charges. He says he's being targeted because he's a black man and the charge is rooted in racism. I look at Combs' argument and his chances of success. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Shawn Diddy Combs wants one of the counts in his federal superseding indictment thrown out. Combs argues he's basically being singled out by federal prosecutors because of his race and his success in business. The charge he wants the judge to toss.
It appears that Diddy's situation has gotten so bad that his attorneys are attempting to postpone the trial because they understand that unless the evidence against him is rejected, Diddy will not be able to leave this situation. The man who was anxious to get out of jail and was attending weekly bail hearings is now content to wait another 2 months for a trial.
Music mogul Shawn Diddy Combs, a judge has denied his request to delay the proceedings, and that means jury selection could start in just weeks. ABC's Phil Lipoff is tracking this case. Good morning, Phil.
Yeah, Gio, good morning. It looks like it's going to. Shawn Combs' trial date is set to go on as expected Friday. A judge ruled Combs' criminal sex trafficking trial will begin next month as scheduled after he denied the defense's request for a 2-month adjournment. The trial is set to begin May 5th with jury selection. The judge said it was unclear why there isn't sufficient time to prepare, especially since 4 different law firms are now representing him. The judge agreed, however, to allow alleged victims to testify under pseudonyms, but one star witness, Diddy's ex, Cassie Ventura, is expected to testify under her own name. She filed, you'll remember, a quickly settled civil lawsuit against Combs. The judge agreed with a defense request to receive outtakes of interviews conducted for a documentary produced by Warner Brothers. Those interviews were conducted with potential trial witnesses. Combs appeared in Jailhouse Beige on Friday and was given a moment at the end of the hearing to communicate with his mother and one of his sons. He told them, "I love you, and we're good." He has pleaded, we should mention, not guilty to all 5 federal counts and maintained his...
Lawyers have already realized that they can no longer help Diddy. One of Diddy's best lawyers, Anthony Rico, resigned after filing a motion with the court, stating that he could never again effectively serve as counsel. It's interesting to note that Diddy had been a client of Grubman, Shai, Meiselas, and Sachs for more than 20 years when they dropped him as a client after the federal lawsuit was filed against him.
The legal team is getting a little smaller as the rap mogul's defense team prepares for his May trial on sex trafficking charges. His attorney, Anthony Rico, respectfully but regrettably requested to be dismissed from his role, according to documents obtained by NBC News. Rico, who is one of 6 attorneys on the case, requested in the February 21st filing to withdraw as representation because, quote, "Under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel for Shawn Combs, consistent with the ABA standards for criminal justice." The motion continues, quote, "While I'm aware that the local rule requires that an application for withdrawal of counsel is supported and granted only upon a showing by affidavit or otherwise of satisfactory reasons for withdrawal, there are sufficient reasons related to the protections afforded by the attorney-client privilege for brevity in my application for withdrawal as counsel in this case."
So the high-powered law firm of Grubman, Shire, Salas, and Sachs has dropped Combs as a client. Now, this is the firm of Alan Grubman, who is a very prominent entertainment lawyer that represents some very big names. Weeknd, Madonna, Chris Brown, Paul Simon, Usher, Bruce Springsteen. In fact, by the way, Alan Grubman was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He actually helped found that back in the 1980s. So it gives you an idea about how big of a powerhouse this firm is. Now let's go back to Shawn Combs. So the rumor circulating is that this firm did this because singer and actress Lady Gaga had threatened to leave the firm unless they parted ways with Combs. This is according to reporting by News Nation. And it's a big deal because the rapper and producer had apparently been with Grubman's firm for over 20 years. He was friends with Alan Grubman, by all accounts.